My name is Wendy Weber. I'm the programs director at Foundation Beyond Belief. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that we are recording this and live streaming on Facebook at the moment. Tonight we're hosting a special edition of our monthly Firesides. This special edition is a Secular Week of Action webinar. It is co-hosted by Foundation Beyond Belief, Secular Student Alliance, American Atheists, and American Humanist Association. Secular Week of Action was created as an alternative to the National Day of Prayer in the US. And we use this as a way to mobilize secular people around shared values and encourage them to make positive change throughout communities in the US. This year, Secular Week of Action will take place between April 30th and May 9th. The theme is a compassionate response to hunger and homelessness. The ongoing pandemic has caused a huge spike in the number of people experiencing hunger and homelessness in the US. The USDA found that in the past year, food insecurity has more than doubled, affecting 23% of households. And that's not even getting into the specific demographics, some of which have experienced much higher rates of food insecurity. In addition to hunger, people are also experiencing homelessness at greater rates. And as a direct result of the pandemic, chronic homelessness is projected to increase by 49% in the next 4 years. These are difficult and unfortunate problems, but we are fortunate to have so many secular groups that are working hard across the country to tackle this problem in their local communities. Tonight, some of those groups are joining us and can speak to what they are doing and give some tips and ideas to others who want to address homelessness and food insecurity in their own communities. The groups that are speaking tonight are from Southeastern Virginia Atheists, Skeptics, and Humanists, or SEVASH for short, Atheists Helping the Homeless, Charlotte, Secular Student Alliance at Henderson State University, Northern Indiana Atheists, and Austin Humanists at Work. We encourage you to type any questions you have for the speakers while they are talking and giving their presentation, and we'll have time, an open time for them to answer some of those after their presentations. Our first speaker tonight is Aidan Barnes from SEVASH. Currently, SEVASH is working on little free pantries in Virginia, which Aidan can tell you more about. Take it away.
All right, so the topic I'm here to discuss is free food pantries. And as I was introduced, my name is Aidan Barnes. I'm the organizer of SEVASH, which is a chapter of the Washington Area Secular Humanists, or WASH, where I serve as vice president currently. And as an affiliate of American Atheists, I serve as their assistant state director for the south side of Hampton Roads, focusing primarily on Virginia Beach. A lifelong skeptic, I'm proud to serve the secular community in the pursuit of promoting science, reason, and secular values here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So what is a free food pantry? If you're unfamiliar with the concept, perhaps you've heard of free little libraries. This is the same concept, but with food. It's basically a small wooden box about the size of the average kitchen cabinet, which gets stocked with unperishables and other supplies the community might need. COVID had just hit when we deployed our first pantry, shown here on the left. And we also stocked, sorry, lost my place here. Yeah, so COVID had just hit when we deployed the first pantry. So in addition to food, we also stocked homemade masks and hand sanitizer. With the limited availability of toilet paper, we managed to supply some of that as well. Some other items that you may want to consider are menstruation hygiene supplies, as those can be in short supply, especially in homeless communities. So the idea to do this here in Hampton Roads originated with the Tidewater chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, of which I'm also a member, and grew into a collaboration with SEVASH, Food Not Bombs, and Satanic Norfolk, themselves affiliated with the Satanic Temple. This is great, especially for smaller groups and marginalized communities like ours, as you'll build intersectional relationships. It's also a great bonding activity with members of your group. Once deployed in the community, it can do really great work for the image of your group as people from a wide variety of walks of life see and respect it for the good it does. Ultimately, it's a fairly permanent contribution to the community, which could potentially last far after the group that made it. And finally, some recommendations and lessons learned from these builds. The main thing I would say is, seek out materials to repurpose. Donated materials, especially from other projects, can help reduce costs. So if you have people that have some leftover paint or leftover wood we had a lot of donations made to us from a project where we built a wheelchair ramp for one of the members of SEVASH. So a lot of that wood went into the first food pantry. A little bit of it into the second, but we changed up the design a bit for the second one. So, yeah. Definitely have meetings to determine where it should go, where it would do the most good in your community. Maybe drive around a bit, talk to people, figure out, where the best placement for this could be. Also consider trying to get it on private property rather than public. Main reason for that is because with the legal or FDA and health department restrictions, if you could partner with someone who has their own business and they're willing to take on that liability, then you don't have to worry about dealing with the authorities on that yourself. Groups like Food Not Bombs, like when we partner with them, they tend to operate with more of an anarchist mindset, forgoing permission in order to get help to those who need it most when they need it, regardless of red tape and regulations. And I kind of like that mindset as well. So I'm more of a, ask for forgiveness rather than permission type of person when it comes to these, mutual aid efforts. And the goal for the pantry ultimately is for the community in which they reside to take over the mutual aid effort, giving what they can, taking what they need. But it does take a fair amount of investment to supply unless you start to foster community ownership of the project. So for those in your group who may not be able to physically contribute to the build, but still willing to help, you can, if you have a Costco membership or otherwise, affluent enough to help kickstart the effort, you can get people to help supply it that way. And then if you want to review the some sample plans, we put those up on Instructables. And there's also a site that tracks these little free pantries all over the country. So if you go to mapping.littlefreepantry.org, you can see where all of these are placed. I'm not sure if it's been updated yet. I just added I found out about this site the other day. So I added the two that we've deployed, one in Norfolk and one in Newport News, to that list. And hopefully we have some more to come. We're planning a few new builds right now. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate your insight into little pantries. Just a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions, please put them into the chat, and we can later, when we have all of the panelists, we can discuss them. Next, our next speaker is Tina Marshall. Tina is from Atheists Helping the Homeless Charlotte and Black Nonbelievers of Charlotte, and these organizations host monthly giveaways which provide food and other necessities to unhoused folks. So take it away, Tina.
Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Tina Marshall, and I'm the lead organizer and founder of Black Nonbelievers of Charlotte. We are part of a coalition of all of the atheist and humanist groups in and about Charlotte, and then areas around. So there are probably about 8 or 9 different groups that come together, or I should say pre-COVID that did come together. Atheists Helping the Homeless Charlotte was started actually by Shane Hammock, who comes out of South Carolina. He had tried to do it in South Carolina, do a giveaway in South Carolina in the town that he was in, and it wasn't received very well, at least not at first. So, and it was a smaller town. So he loaded up his truck and he headed up north to Charlotte, and just kind of let one of the bigger atheist groups in town just to say, look, I'm going to just park my truck here and start a giveaway. And that's how it started. And that was maybe about 3 years ago when he did that. From that post in Facebook, it grew to be about 40 people. We would meet once a month, 40 people. We had 3 different stations, where one station was for clothes, where we collected clothes from all over the city. Anybody who wanted to give us clothes, they had to be clean. And one station, they would sort those clothes and hang them up, and help some of our neighbors as they came through, help find sizes, what have you. The next station was the breakfast station. Somebody donated a huge grill, and a brand new grill, and we would cook bacon, sausage, turkey sausage. Somebody would make 2 crock pots full of like an egg kind of thing, scrambled egg kind of thing, and we'd have pancakes with butter and syrup. And as well as drinks and whatever kind of snacks, because people would constantly, donate snacks, and we would give away those as well. So our neighbors would line up in the morning, get a hot meal, get their clothes, and then we had another table of toiletries. And that would be things like shampoo and, soap and toothpaste, toothbrush, dental floss, all the little kind of things that you need for hygiene. But we would also ask, most of our clientele were men, so we would ask them, what is it that you guys need? And during the summer, the guys would ask for tank tops, like the wife beaters that they call them wife beaters. So we would get packs of those, and these would all be donated. We'd put the call out. We have an Amazon account that is set up where people can just go in and buy stuff, and it would come straight to Shane's house, and now it comes to someone else's house. And we got a storage unit to store it until we had our giveaway. And they would ask for things like, in the summer they would ask for flip-flops and wife beaters. Another, in the summer they would ask for also bug repellent and flashlights, batteries, that kind of thing. In the winter, they would ask for knitted hats and scarves and any kind of coats that we came across. And we did really, really well. I definitely encouraged my members from Black Nonbelievers to become active with the group, because at least in Charlotte, I would say 95% of the folks that we serve are African American, black men, and 100% of the people serving them were white, unless I showed up. I would encourage a lot of my members to show up, and they would, just because sometimes you have some very well-meaning folks out there that they're scared. They're just scared of Black people. And when you have scared white people around Black people where some of them have mental health issues, it could turn into something ugly. So I encourage my members to come out to kind of like be a buffer. So anyway, we've been, like I said, we've been doing that for about 3 years now, until COVID hit. And when COVID hit, we lost probably half of our members, or half of our volunteers, I would say, because of COVID. And a lot of us were in the 50 to 60-year-old age group. You know, a lot of us were retired, so we could come anytime and do that kind of stuff. So we lost, I couldn't even come out for months. And now they're starting it back up again, except we're not doing the food, at least not right now. We're doing some clothes, but not much. And then we just do the toiletries, except what we do is we have a shopping bag, and then the guys will come along and point at what they want. We'll just drop it into a bag. To get more people active in the group, it's not hard. People want to help, in the atheist community. It's just this damn COVID. Once it's over and done, hopefully soon, we'll get more of our members out there. And it wasn't hard to get people out. They were happy to help. And Facebook was our medium that we'd call people out on. So anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate your perspective and everything you have to say, and I'm sure that we'll have some questions later. So thank you. Our next panelist is Harley Wisemunt from Secular Student Alliance at Henderson State University. This chapter has been working on reducing food insecurity on campus through an on-campus food pantry. Go ahead, Harley.
Thank you so much, Wendy. First of all, thank you for inviting me to do this. I'm really proud to get to represent our club here. So I want to start out by just showing you guys what our Needs Pantry is. I'm going to share a photo so you can know what it is I'm referencing as we have this conversation about what is our biggest and most successful project as a group. So as you can see, this is a wooden box that sits outdoors. It's about 3 feet deep by 4 feet wide and about 3 feet tall. Inside there are 2 shelves, and we keep it stocked with anything that a human would need. It's managed by members, but it is also self-regulated by the campus community. So for example, our members will go and check to make sure that it's not empty or kind of take inventory of what is there. But so often we'll find that the case is people just exchange and they know what their friends need. And it's just been really successful in that way. So now I'd like to talk about why we established this Needs Pantry. So this isn't a problem that's unique to our university, but the situation here is that there are no on-campus dining options that are accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the biggest issue here was that we just wanted to make something that could be accessed at all of those times, which is how we decided on placing it outdoors. The location is also important to note. We were able to get it set up in a way that's right next to student housing, and also right beside our dining hall. So if you go to the dining hall, for example, and you notice the doors are locked, you can just go right to that pantry beside it and get whatever it is that you need. We also decided on a needs pantry rather than simply a food pantry, because as humanists, we aim to serve universal needs for as many people as we can. So that's kind of how we decided that we would include things like hygiene and personal care products in addition to the food. So who our Needs Pantry is aimed at helping and has helped, and I'm happy to say, is first and foremost international students. We have on our campus a housing situation that is dedicated specifically to international students. And as many of you may know, it's far more expensive to be an international student than a different type of student. So we have these people in mind that have these extra economic stresses on them. Also, of course, we want to service any sort of low-income student, especially students who live on campus, because of course, the easiest way to access the pantry is from the residence halls that it's beside. Also, we had in mind people that have travel limitations. You know, not everybody at college has a car that they can go to the to some sort of food option off of campus. So I'd like to describe the timeline of our creation of this needs pantry. So the first SSA meeting that I ever went to at this school was in 2018. And they were discussing the concept of this needs pantry. So we began conceptualizing it, figuring out what the dimension should be, where we should put it, things like that. And by 2019, we were able to begin constructing it, gathering the materials and putting it together. In 2020, we were able to inaugurate the cabinet and put it on campus and have people start accessing it and donating to it. And now in 2021, we have renovated and expanded the products and the communication that we put out about the Needs Pantry. So that's a brief timeline of kind of how long it took to get all the things established that we needed to do. So in terms of the process of doing this, first and foremost, because this pantry is located on university property, we had to get approval from the university themselves at the administrative level to be able to do this. Now, luckily, Henderson State University has this very sweet motto that we're the school with a heart, and a lot of the organizations and activities that the university does are service-oriented. And so for that reason, administration, they agreed to set up the post on which the cabinet sits. So our administration luckily was very supportive of this and actually helped us cut down a little bit on the cost of having to install it into the ground like that. Other things that we had to do along the way were become an officially registered student organization, which happened in 2019. So in 2018, we were an informal group gathering by our own will. In 2019, we became established and part of that student system. So also we had to do our materials acquisition, coordinate the construction of the pantry, which of course required when's everybody available, who all can help. And luckily back in 2019, we didn't have to have those concerns about, can we do this in person and be 6 feet apart, have masks? So luckily we got it together just in time. And then the other part of this that's really important is we had to develop a way of our promotion communication. Okay, now that we're here, how are we going to let students know what this is all about and where it is? So it does no good to put up a pantry that nobody knows about. After the process of establishment, both along the way and as we've been managing the pantry, there are a few things that we've learned that I want to make sure I point out to everybody, especially those who might be considering doing a project like this themselves. So some things to note are, of course, we at first were just a food cabinet, but once we realized that the same people who need food also need other personal care products, thus the name change to the Needs Pantry. One thing about this is because food cabinets are so prevalent, people are very used to being asked to donate food. They know how to do it. They know where to go buy it. But one thing that people don't have in mind so often when donating is those personal care items. So we've seen in our experience that it's harder to keep those hygiene and personal products stocked. So we have to put out extra effort to make sure we're asking specifically for those types of items. Also, we've experienced that the types of food that are in highest demand are the kinds that require no cooking, that can be eaten alone as a full meal. Of course, whatever you can donate is absolutely helpful, but it's more efficient for, especially in a student environment, something that people can just open the package and get right to eating or right to using. We are lucky in the sense that because of the student population and that we have a service-oriented student body already, we've been 100% stocked by donations alone. We haven't had to put any club funds into this. And I think that, again, can be, thanks to the atmosphere here on our campus. And just really, the giving spirit has been very good to us. But of course, social media is your best friend when it comes to getting information out there. So we send out e-blasts over email to people. We make posters that we put up around campus, and we have an Instagram, ssa.hsu, on which we weekly ask for donations, show people what's there, kind of give an inventory. So the last thing I want to note is just what comes next for us is we're going to keep experimenting with new ways to get the information out there, that we are a needs pantry. Here's where we are. Here's what we do. Here's how you can help. Because even though we've been here a full year now, there's still a lot of people on campus that don't know where it is or what it is. And of course, at a college, you have a lot of turnover of people that are there. One thing we also want to do is make sure that we dedicate the pantry. So with everything that I've just told all of you, my club wants to get together and create a statement that we can post inside of the pantry that kind of tells people the story of what this is, why we're doing it, and what we hope that it becomes. So that is the Secular Student Alliance Needs Pantry at Henderson State University. Thanks again so much for listening. This has been a wonderful project that brought my club closer together. And so I believe that this is a great community building as well as a community serving project to embark on. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I don't think that food insecurity on campuses is often a part of this kind of discussion. So I really appreciate you enlightening all of us about what the needs are and how you go about doing that. Thank you. Next, we have Kelly Picknell from Northern Indiana Atheists. They do a lot of fundraisers around food and housing insecurity, and have an adoptive family program. So go ahead, Kelly.
All right, thank you. Glad to be here today to share some of our thoughts and ideas. Literally, as Harley was speaking, our president, Troy Moss, was able to just finished putting together a video. So in a minute, I may see if I can share that video. We'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I plan to talk anyways. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what we do at Northern Indiana Atheists. Basically, we've been around for several years. We were formed in 2017, and our main purpose was to fight state and church violations in the Northern Indiana area. In this area, it's very religious, and so a lot of people tend to be marginalized or afraid to come out as atheists. So by having a group like us, it gave people allies and friends that understood and could work with them. We are part of the American Atheists, and one of our branches or main core missions is helping other people. And so we've always had a heart for the homeless and for those that are facing both food insecurity and housing issues. We've done a lot of work around those areas. As I mentioned, we have an Adoptive family program that happens every year. And the way that works is we put out on Facebook a plea for anybody that knows families that are suffering, that are going to have a hard time paying for presents for their kids over Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever holidays they serve, or if they're having trouble meeting their bills. We've had people that their houses had burnt down, and we wanted to raise money for them to help them get back on their feet. So we've done the majority of our the majority of our fundraising through Facebook, because it offers just a simple, easy way for people to donate to us or to the charities that we are raising money for. We've actually raised considerably more money for other nonprofits in our areas and for other people than we have for ourselves. As long as our needs are being met and we're okay, none of us are taking a salary. We're all volunteers, so we don't have very many costs. So we are happy to do what we can to help other communities. And the Adoptive Family Program is just one way we do that. We tend to try and adopt a few families, and then we ask them what their needs are. If it's gifts for their kids for Christmas or whatever holiday they serve, then we've actually gone out and went shopping for them based on what they told us their kids wanted, so that they are able to wake up Christmas morning and not be disappointed. So that's been a successful program that we've been running for several years now. Before Northern Indiana Atheists ever existed, there was a local group here in town called Michiana Skeptics, Facebook-based group, and that group actually started that program. So we were happy to carry it forward and reach a broader audience. The other thing that we've done is a lot of work around the homeless. There are several local charities, nonprofits here in Northern Indiana that we have worked with. I happen to work on homeless issues as part of my career. Ever since I graduated college, I've been working either at homeless shelters, or now I work for a software company that actually tracks clients' progress towards self-sufficiency. It's part of what's called the Homeless Management Information System world that HUD has put together. So homelessness has always been my passion. So I was happy that Northern Indiana Atheists wanted to see what they could do to serve the homeless as well. It's right up my alley. Behind me, the light in my office burned out today, so it's a little dark in here. But behind me, you can see on my wall, there's some signs. These are actually signs that Northern Indiana Atheists put together for a protest that the homeless was doing, that one of the homeless groups was doing. Because here in our town, my town is South Bend, Indiana. We had Mayor Pete Buttigieg as our mayor, and he's a great guy. I really support him, but he did not appreciate that the homeless had camps out in town, and many cities have dealt with this, where the encampments and the street homeless are pushed from one corner to another and just continually pushed around. So we did a protest right in front of his office to say that, hey, we really need your help, that you can't just kick the can down the road. That's not working. So we printed out all of these signs. Local groups came together. We had some people in tents right on the city grounds there. And it was a good show of force, and of course made the media attention. We've actually printed out protest signs for many different types of events. It happens to be that our president also works for a printing company. So he has a graphic design background and has been able to just print out signs at low cost or at cost for us to use at various events, like the Keep Families United or Keep Families Together events that have happened. We work with other groups as well on various issues that we care about, but working for the homeless has always been a big part of that. Another thing that we've done is we've helped raise money for some of the nonprofit groups that work with the homeless, especially the street homeless. So here in town, we have a group called Michiana 5 for the Homeless, and another one in the next town over called Operation Treehouse. And we've just put up simple fundraisers on Facebook and said, hey, can you help us raise money for these groups? And in order to spur people to give, the board of directors at Northern Indiana Atheists has always tried to see what we could give first to use that as a match. So we pooled our resources and put together $500 for each of those organizations as a match. And we were able to more than meet that and give them decent checks to help support their mission. So let me see if I can share this video. We're going to give this a try and see if it works. So give me a second. And I know Zoom can be tricky about sharing sound, so let's make sure that works too. And share sound. And we'll see if this works. Okay, tell me if you are able to see and hear this video.
Yes, yeah.
Great.
Northern Indiana Atheists is a nonprofit established in 2017 to fight state church violations on a local level and defend the rights of atheists and other marginalized communities across Northern Indiana. Membership is open to atheists and our allies who share our vision for a government that represents all citizens equally and our passion for serving our community. Organizing our community during a pandemic has been challenging. We found the best use of our energy has been supporting and raising money for organizations that are helping our neighbors hardest hit at this time. Early on in the pandemic, when hand sanitizer was nearly impossible to find, we put the call out for our members and community to help us protect the most vulnerable among us. Our goal was to raise money to buy supplies to produce hand sanitizer and pass it out at local homeless shelters and organizations that help the homeless. We exceeded our goal and put hundreds of bottles of sanitizer in the hands of people who desperately needed it. The money we raised over the cost of producing the hand sanitizer went into making packages containing other healthcare needs. NIA has built close relationships with homeless advocates from several communities in Northern Indiana. They reach out when they have specific needs, and we rally our members and allies to help. NIA most recently had the opportunity for our members and community to help with an immediate need of our houseless friends in a Shelter First program. This program places houseless people in hotel rooms and provides them 3 meals a day. Working with advocates, we raised money to buy several cases of items to put together self-sufficiency kits. Food insecurity hit our communities hard. NIA committed to matching $500 in donations to the food pantry at La Casa de Amistad. Their pantry has seen 4 times as many people as usual. In the first 6 hours of our fundraiser, our members and allies exceeded our matching goal. We were able to donate a nice check that stocked their pantry and put food on the tables of our neighbors. Food Bank of Northern Indiana is another important resource that has seen an overwhelming need. NIA put forward another $500 in matching donations, and with the help of our members and allies, we were able to donate enough money to supply over 3,400 meals to people in need. NIA is always happy to be of service to our community. To learn more about the work we've done, visit us at northernindianaatheists.com.
All right, so that's the video they put together to just give an overview of many of the things that we've done for the homeless. Definitely, we always talk about pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and certainly COVID has changed a lot of the stuff we have been able to do directly. Before the pandemic, we would meet as a group to volunteer at the overnight shelter. We have not done that for safety reasons. We don't want to be the ones spreading this disease, but we have been able to continue to raise money to support the homeless, and through efforts like it showed in the video of creating the hand sanitizer and everything else. I saw Aiden's comment as that was going on about the tiny homes. That's actually something that we're exploring here in town too. Street homelessness is such a difficult issue to address because of the myriad of issues that go along with chronic homelessness, from just being in poverty itself, but also adding on top of that the disabilities that people face, including mental health issues and substance abuse. So the regular shelters typically don't work for the types of people that live out on the streets. And so things like low barrier shelters and tiny homes are often a good alternative to that. So we've been looking for places to put that, working with some of the local groups here. If we can find the places and the resources, we're hoping that we can make that a reality someday. So thank you all for listening. I'll see if there's any questions, but that's it for me.
Thank you very much. As you can see, that was lots of folks agree that was a great video. We have one more organization to present before we get to the question and answer period. Emily Lutinsky. They do with Austin Humanist work, as you see. They do monthly giveaways and other kinds of events in order to support homelessness, people experiencing homelessness in Austin. So take it away, Emily.
Thank you so much, Wendy. It's really nice to be here and hear everyone's stories about how you all are helping your communities. I hear a lot of common themes around, the importance of networking, understanding the community, listening to the community, and we certainly have learned a lot in the last year as Austin Humanists at Work. So I'd like to share with you all a little bit about our organization. And COVID was so terrible in so many ways, but I feel this crisis has really improved our organization and helped us evolve into a new direction that truly serves those that we aim to serve through our mission. So Austin Humanists at Work has been around for a while, and I came to the organization about 3.5, 4 years ago as a volunteer. And, we have worked for a while with other organizations that are on the streets, serving the population we serve, those who are unsheltered or experiencing homelessness and limited means. A group of what are now the board members came together and said, hey, we need to make this official, become a nonprofit so that we can have some of the benefits of being a nonprofit and also kind of embrace the status of being a true nonprofit organization that serves our community. And so what we do is we uphold the values of humanism by serving those in need in our community. I heard too from an atheist group here that the monthly giveaways are a theme. We've been doing those giveaways in our communities as well for as long as I can remember. So we offer basic living supplies, shampoo, conditioner, condoms, feminine hygiene products. We even have some volunteers who get together on a regular basis to hand knit hats and washcloths for our community, for our clients that we serve on a month in, month out basis to really kind of personalize the items that we can give and serve the needs that are existing. And so we've done this for years and years, but of course, COVID had other plans. And so, how it started, how it's going, how it started, we used to have 25 plus volunteers every single month. We typically get together the last Sunday of every month. We had kids, people of all ages standing down the line, offering people what they might need, asking them, or telling them, actually we have bananas down at the end. We did grab and go food items. We also networked with some other organizations in town to provide coffee. The Ethical Society of Austin, as well as Austin Atheists Helping the Homeless have come in and provided support to our organization. Support the Girls has provided hygiene products for us as well through our giveaways. We've done bra drives. We really focused, I feel, in the last few years on asking the folks who are coming through our line exactly what they need. And, Tina, to your point earlier, we found out, for example, that we were not offering the right hair care products for people of color. We were offering shampoo, conditioner. We didn't have relaxer. We didn't have any oil. We didn't have anything they needed. And so it's been kind of a slow evolution, but we did start to try and listen to our community more to serve them better. And that theme certainly continued into the post-COVID world or the mid-COVID world as we're in now. We started, as I mentioned, with tons of volunteers. We're helping at least 150 people every month. And now we're doing more with less. So we have monthly giveaways still. They did pause for a few months during COVID. Our organization really had to kind of reevaluate the work that we were doing and how we could safely serve our community without bringing risk to them and vice versa, risk to our volunteers, given that so many of us, are really engrossed in being able to be on the streets and support and help. And so now we have about 8 to 12 volunteers on a regular basis, serving at least 150 people every month through our usual giveaways, which we started back up about 3 months after COVID started over the summer last year. And we added through a networking opportunity some food distribution every single week. And this has been a huge game changer for us. We're able to serve an additional 80 people in North Austin rather than just Central Austin where our giveaway was located. Obviously, if you've been to Austin, been to urban areas, a lot of the concentration of people who are living unsheltered is downtown. It's where the services are, but we know that that is not the only place where people have camps. And so a lot of our board members and volunteers live in North Austin or in that general area. And we were able to, through the eat bag distribution that is run by the city and some city agencies, grab bags that are pre-packed and have our volunteers go out to the camps and distribute full food bags of non-perishable food items to the camps out in North Austin especially. So that was a big game changer for us for a number of regions, which I'll get into in a moment. So if we're just comparing pre-COVID now, we're doing 3 times as many events as we were before, with, as I mentioned, a lot fewer people than we had pre-COVID. And previously, we were working with about 150 clients a month on a monthly basis. Now we're seeing those 150 plus the 80 that we're serving, 80 or so that we're serving every single week, with some really incredible stories and some incredible impact that we've had in the last year, just in the growth. And we see this need is so clear in the Austin area, despite local efforts to get people off of the streets in less than humane ways and to do sweeps. We're still out here, advocating for people, even with a smaller staff. So I do want to take just a moment to tell you a couple of stories of impact that we had here through Austin Humanists at Work. You might have heard that we had an incredibly terrifying snowstorm. I'm from the Austin, Texas area, and it's nothing like I've ever seen before. I mean, 2 feet of snow frozen over for days and days. And of course, as an organization, the first place our mind went was, how are our clients going to be able to handle this? What's going to happen to them? And we mobilized immediately. A couple of our board members and volunteers began going back out to those places where we visit every single week and talking to them, saying, what is your plan? How are you going to get off the streets? What do you need? Can we get in touch with your family to get you a hotel room? Can we help try to get you secured in some sort of shelter for at least a short amount of time? We had a lot of folks who took us up on that, and we ultimately got 20 people off the streets during the snowstorm. Effectively, a lot of them were calling us from their hotel room saying, you saved our life. They were saying, we're hungry, can you send us some pizza? Which we absolutely did. And this particular person, this is Martin, someone who my spouse works with on a weekly basis, who had not really had shelter for years. And we got him a hotel room for a week when it was iced over. It was 12 degrees for days at a time, not the kind of conditions you want to live in outside. And so going from monthly distributions downtown to these weekly encounters with the same camps over and over again. We're learning names. We're getting to know these people. We're understanding their needs. We're checking in on if they need toiletries. Do you need toilet paper? Do you need clothing? What do you need shelter? What's happening here? So for so long, Austin Humanists at Work has been focused on, a short-term supply of those basic living items. And now we're starting to build more relationships. And we also had some folks who got out of the storm over Valentine's Day saying, this was like a vacation for me. I've been living on the streets for 2 or 3 years. People who are actively working, people who are just, it's unaffordable to live in Austin. And so we have people who are receiving their Social Security checks, receiving some sort of income, but still not able to afford shelter in our city. And so those are the folks have always been intensely focused on, and even more so now through COVID, we've been able to connect with them and build relationships with them. And that has become the real kind of lesson through COVID for our organization. And I did want to introduce really quickly Virginia Miller, who is our board president. And I want her to share a little bit about Christy's story, because this was our first kind of embarking on helping individuals on a more one-on-one, more of like a case management basis than a once a month kind of, here you go, here's your stuff, we'll be back in a month kind of setting. And so Virginia, can you share a little bit just about, what you learned through the process of working with Christy and kind of the outcomes we've been able to produce so far for her?
Yes, hi everybody, Virginia Miller. So I'd say right after the snowstorm, I discovered, and I've known Christy since we started doing eat bags. Let me start there. I've known Christy since about August and got to really know her over the last 8 months or so. During the snowstorm, they had stayed in a hotel, and an incident happened while she was at the hotel that basically gave her an infection in her finger, to which we had to help her. She didn't want to go to the hospital at first because there's fears of hospitals. A lot of the times people don't enjoy going to the hospital because of not getting care, not getting the proper care. So they don't go right away. So really, by the time she ended up in the hospital, her finger was pretty much unsavable. And we got to see a specialist. She agreed to, basically through the months of trust that we built over the coming months, I was able to say, hey, we should really do wound care. Hey, we should, I suggested things and she actually, listened to me, since we built a bond. And the most important thing and factor that I can always say, building relationships with people, is accepting them exactly where they are, no matter where they are, and just hearing them and leave judgment off to the side. So she really received me through all of that, and after 3 days of taking her back and forth from wound care and things, and taking her back to the camp, I knew her recovery was just not possible without being in a house. She had to have constant, sync, and her anxiety was through the roof because she also suffers from high anxiety. So when the weekend rolled around and she finally asked me, do you mind if I stay here at least for the weekend? And I knew it's really busy from where she camps out. I was very happy she actually asked me, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so relieved you asked because I wanted you to stay. And since then we had conversations about going forward and what all I will do to help her. And basically I've stepped her through everything she has wanted to do throughout her recovery. She's now 30 days sober, and she decided that for herself. She makes calls every day just to get information, but we've gotten her IDs. She has a new change of address. She's getting, psych eval and rehab. We're going down all the basic steps to basically help her off the street completely, because there's many things that she said that really touched me. And she said, I don't want to die out here. And ever since she said that to me, I'm like, well, I really don't want you to die out here either. And she's like, do you really think that I can be, a person again? And I'm like, honey, you're already a person. So just trying to find that human connection with someone and accepting them as they are is like my biggest advice to anyone. But she's still here, and we're still working on things, and we're going to still work on things until we're done, and until she has efficient housing. And here in Austin, things are really, really slow. I don't know how it is anywhere else around. I'm sure it's not any faster anywhere else. But all the services are appointment only. A lot of the services are on telehealth calls, which for a 63-year-old woman is very hard. So it's been a slow process, but she still has great spirits, and it's been quite a rewarding thing, learning also all the things that she has to tell me. She's literally a wealth of information as far as all she goes through being outside and helping me understand services as well. So we've learned a lot from each other.
Thanks, Virginia. Yeah, I mean, I love hearing Christy's story from you, and just knowing that there are so many more like that we can help, that we can, be this person. And I understand, Austin Humanists at Work, we're a pretty young nonprofit. We've been established as a nonprofit for like under 4 years now. And so I think that through listening to our community, we've found we've really started to hit our stride here in 2020, 2021, as far as the most effective, impactful way to help the most number of people, because we go to places where there's lots of services, and we see, as Virginia puts it, we see the love, we see that they have a lot, but what impact are we making long term? And that, as a board, is something that we started to question ourselves. And so coming into 2021, as Virginia said, one of our big takeaways was just like to meet people where they are. You cannot come to a scenario with expectations about what you think they need or assume that they want. We talk to them, we talk to our clients and ask them exactly what they need. And, they really have to be ready to, if we are going to continue on a path toward stable housing, they have to be ready to do that. And not every client is. And we have to accept that there are lots of clients who, for example, we may be just taking in their laundry every 3 weeks and washing it for them while they continue working and living under a street sign. That's where they are right now. And we're here to support that. I think that one big theme too that's come out is educating yourself and networking with other organizations. Lots of organizations, as we found during the snowstorm and during COVID in Austin, are doing really, really amazing work. I'm thinking of our mutual aid group in here in Austin that raised over $1 million during the snowstorm. They're not an official nonprofit or anything. They're just a group of people trying to help others, especially help the population that's living unsheltered right now. And so we know that the desire in our community is there to support these types of efforts. And we know that the networking is there and the knowledgeability is there, even if we directly don't have it. So whether it's working with an individual client who we are navigating this path with them on how to get their driver's license, how to get a copy of their birth certificate so we can get them enrolled, how to get in touch with the VA so they can get services. We are navigating that as volunteers, and there needs to be like an openness to learning and an openness to connecting with potentially non-secular organizations who are doing good work in order to kind of leverage their power in the community and get the support for the individuals that we need, so long as they're in line with our mission and not, over preaching their mission and not just helping humans as we choose to do. And then, of course, what the last big thing is, we just adapted to the circumstances. Like we were really afraid of COVID at the beginning, halted everything, reconsidered our options, and then went forward with a bold and brave plan to help more people with a direct impact. And that's kind of really what's come here is you can't be fickle, and you cannot be kind of too much of a stick in the mud when it comes to helping others and serving your community, and just realizing what they need and adapting whatever it might be. And if that means having kind of uncomfortable conversations with how people are doing and talking to strangers and getting near them with your mask on. I mean, those are all things that our volunteers have had to do, and incredible to see the number of new volunteers we've had come in to do that work here just in the last year has been tremendous for our organization. And so I would just close with saying, Austin Humanists at Work continues to pursue, funding opportunities so we can continue this work. This is a lot more resource intensive work than even a monthly giveaway. Virginia has spent hours and hours and hours. We are seeing these folks every single week. We're talking, 2 to 3 hours a week minimum per volunteer to be able to support these individuals. But in the end, the work is incredibly rewarding. And to see a story like Christy's, or see the folks who got off the street for a week and a half, at least, coming to feel better about themselves, getting clean showers, some of the outcomes we've had is incredibly rewarding. And we're just going to keep doing that on into 2021. So thanks for having us today.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing particularly about how you handled that storm. That was such a unique situation for Texas anyway. I want to get all the panelists here so that we can do some question and answers. I've seen some folks who have put questions into the chat already, and please feel free to add some questions now as we're talking. But I think a great place to start would be asking there were a couple questions about the costs, the startup costs for the little pantries, but I think this applies to the work that all the panelists are doing about what it costs to get this off the ground, and also what it costs in donations and in-kind donations to keep it going every month. I open that up to all the panelists.
I guess I'll start it off. So when we first started this idea, the main thing that we were getting from people was, how could they donate? Because a lot of people wanted to help, but didn't necessarily have like the carpenter skills or anything that in order to contribute in that way. So it's like, all right, well, we're going to bring materials. And we basically did it as like kind of a big party. We would have everybody, we actually did the build here at my house in my garage. So I just invited everybody from all the different groups to come over, and we kind of did it as a potluck thing. but people would bring a lot of extra as well. So a lot of packaged materials that could go into the pantry once the build was complete. So it's kind of hard to keep track of like what a startup cost for that would be when right out of the gate, everybody is just contributing without question of cost. So that's why I put the estimate, like if I had to guess just based on the materials and extrapolating out from how much I've spent in going to Costco and making runs out to the pantry myself, if I was doing it alone and just stocking it, with that extrapolation, probably about $300 to $400, and that's including lumber, the shingles that we use to put on top of it, the paint, the primer, and the materials to go into that as well, or not just the materials, the tools to go into it as well for tools that we had to purchase that we didn't have. But again, a lot of that we do have people that are experienced carpenters in the group who contributed their time and resources. So that helped cut down a lot of that cost. So we didn't actually spend $300 to $400 to get it going, but that rough estimate if you are starting from absolute scratch.
As far as Atheists Helping the Homeless in Charlotte, we started out, like I said, with Shane, and he provided like the basic tables. And it was kind of like, if you build it, they will come. So we put the word out, and the next thing you know, every month, one person would be in charge of bringing the scrambled eggs. One person would bring the pancake mix and the milk, and another person would bring the coffee. It's that kind of thing. You just signed up. We always had enough food. We would serve anywhere from 150 to 200 people pre-COVID. And then since then, we just ask for donations. People send us Amazon gift cards, Walmart gift cards. Oh, and then we also went directly to some of the big stores like Walmart and said, what can you give us? And they would give us a gift card. They're cheap, $100 a month, but at least it was something. And some other stores around town. And and we would always look for sales, like at Dollar Store and what have you. Somebody asked, did our group members need licensing from the state to serve fresh food? And was that a hindrance to our work? Nope. No licensing. We're not that state, not yet. I imagine as long as everybody behaves, they'll leave us alone. And so we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
So in terms of the SSA pantry, for us, the cost was about $150 to begin. Oh yeah, I see. I'm not up there yet, am I? I'm just this disembodied voice kind of talking to you guys. That's okay. Information is still good. About $150 we spent in wood and wood staining materials to get started. Of course, the club, including our faculty advisor, who is a talented engineer physicist, he volunteered his labor to actually do the building and designing of the cabinet. And then, of course, all our products on the inside are donations. And then when we started doing renovations, that was no more than $40. So we were able to keep our costs to under $200 over the few years that we've been, or the year or so that we've been in operation.
I'll just point out that if you don't have anybody with like carpentry skills on your team, you can just Google Little Free Library or Little Free Pantry and then click on the shopping tab, and they actually sell them for $200 to $400.
As far as Austin Humanists at Work, we have a lot of in-kind donations that come around. We have neighborhood cleanouts where we can get some of the items we need and that we look for. We rely a lot on buy nothing groups. on Facebook where we can ask, we know that we're short on sunscreen or we're short on socks over the winter time, and just ask our communities for those types of items. And so we've been really successful with a few fundraisers a year, maybe 6, that are mostly dedicated to a specific item. So we'll do, we're about to launch a bus pass drive, which is a first for us, to get some of our clients bus passes to get back and forth to these appointments that they will need to get their driver's license and things. We also do, the bra drives. We'll do straight up, just monetary donation drives to help us provide basic living supplies. We ask on, Nextdoor, we ask, wherever we can in our communities first before we go and spend our nonprofit money on items. We have a fill-in budget of a few $100s every month, but by and large, we have a larger stockpile because we buy from wholesalers the items that we need. We have an in-kind donation that comes from one of our volunteers of a storage unit. They actually pay for a monthly storage unit for us to be able to store all of our items. And that was certainly a gift to our organization to not have to pay for something like that every month, or not have it in our board members' garages where it's like not covered by insurance necessarily. So that was a big gift for us. But month over month, we're not spending more than a couple of $100s to be able to serve those we need. And again, the monthly food bag distributions, that is provided by other agencies in the area. We're just using our manpower and our resources, which is huge. It really does make a difference when you just have people out there, because you can get the donations from other organizations of eggs or of food or of toiletry items, but having the volunteers has been really key for us to help distribute that. In addition to like our Amazon wish list, where we also get a lot of in-kind donations that's sent directly to us that we can then distribute.
Great.
Awesome. Go ahead. Sorry, Wendy, I was going to jump in for a second. First of all, let me say Wendy has been doing an awesome job. Wendy is Foundation Beyond Beliefs Programs Director, if you're not familiar with her. And this event tonight was supposed to be hosted by our Executive Director, Tiff Ho, but she was having some serious internet issues. So Wendy jumped in and has been doing a great job last minute navigating all of this. I had a question, just because this is something that I hear a lot from our FBB groups. They are always asking if there's pushback in the community for volunteering as atheists or secular people. And I'm wondering if any of our panelists have experienced any negative community response to that.
I will say we've not had any pushback. A lot of our neighbors, they always say, God bless you, or you're a blessing. That's fine. We know what you mean. But I've had little, I don't know what I want to call it, a little rumble with some church groups that come get in line and feel very entitled to take our stuff. And they say, oh, but you have so much, and can I take 10 of these? No, you may not. I'm the mean one. Shane would always say, yeah, okay, sure, but I'm the mean one. I said, no, go ask Jesus. And that's where I kind of like draw the line, like, everybody's got their turf. The atheists have their little corner, and then the fraternities have theirs, the churches have theirs. But nobody's ever been like mean to us or anything. And some groups have even joined us. I know some Muslim folks have jumped in with us, and a few Christian folks have come over. Yeah, we've never had any pushback.
It's been kind of the same experience with the free food pantries here in Hampton Roads. So the second pantry that we put out was the organization that agreed to host it is called Sister to Sister. It's a community organization based out of Newport News, and they do a lot of interfaith stuff. And we were talking with them about, like, we wanted to make sure whatever organization we partnered with was going to be, pro-choice and pro-LGBT rights, and not push back on any of our core values. And they were with us all the way. So, and they partner with Muslim groups and Christian groups as well. And we didn't have any pushback. Everybody was very welcoming on this project. So yeah, it's been nothing but positive for us.
And it's been pretty positive for us as well. We haven't had any pushback on any of the volunteer work we've done. Even when we adopted a highway and the sign said the atheist group has adopted this highway, there was no negative feedback for that. The only pushback we've ever really received is when we try and make sure that atheists have equal access to things like courthouses and things of that nature. Then people are upset because we want the same rights as everyone else.
There is a point in our organization where we partnered with a local Presbyterian church. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Reverend Jim Rigby, but he's definitely someone who isn't afraid to get out there and vocalize equal rights for all. And we even sat down in a round table with some of his congregation to talk about who are atheists and before they worked with us, just because their congregation was curious about us. So, yeah, he sent out supporters of the church basically to be a barrier against anyone who wanted to be a little more nasty than usual. We've had our area blessed. We've had buglers or people that come through the line to give us a Bible. I've received a Bible before, and we try to be as gracious as possible and do the whole non-confrontational efforts. But yeah, we've also had a lot of support from area communities, and yeah, we've had Muslims, we've had even Mormons at our giveaways. We've gotten food from several churches at the end of their events and stuff. So while we've had a little bit of pushback here and there, I could say the support has been larger than the nasties. So.
Well, I saw someone in the chat specifically asked, has the pantry dealt with vandalism? Not yet, but we have done a few things in consideration of this. For a little bit of context, Arkadelphia, Arkansas, where Henderson State's located, it's a small town of about 10,000 people, and there are probably, dozens, maybe 100 churches, like all around here. So when we first established ourselves as a student organization here, we did hear whispers around campus of people being like, what are they all about? This atheist club, what are they going to do? Are they going to be confrontational? And that was never the goal for us. We just wanted a space for us, just like everyone else has with their clubs. So while we haven't had to deal with anything confrontational like that, we have just renovated our cabinet and painted it this very super bright blue. Before it was stained like a dark brown that kind of blended into the brick building that's right behind it. So now that it's more visible, it has crossed my mind that we might need to just check it more regularly, because we certainly don't want any messages that get written on it to be associated with our group. But luckily we did put it in such a public area, like it's beside a parking lot, a housing, a campus housing, and then the dining hall. So you would have to be pretty bold with your vandalism to get that one pulled off, and you'd probably be caught by the end of it. So no, thankfully, but we're mentally prepared for that.
I wonder, Aiden, if the other, if your food pantry has experienced any vandalism, and then for both of you, I'm curious how often you check them for restocking.
So we have people go by the areas a couple times a week, because we have people in our group that actually make use of the pantry, not just to donate, but also to receive items. And we have not had any problems with vandalism at all. I myself, I try to make at least a monthly visit, if not more often, because I take donations from people via Venmo, and then I'll make a big Costco run, and I actually have to space them out a bit because the community has taken over the pantry so well that it's usually fairly well stocked every time I go by, and it's always different stuff that's in there. And And to that, I did want to make a point on something that Harley had brought up and earlier about the types of items to go into the pantry. That was something I meant to mention and left out of my talk, that we did include a list that people could write on for specific needs that they had. So that, or I think Emily might have mentioned that as well. But yeah, so it was, listen to the people that you're trying to work with as well, and you'll get a lot more respect that way. So in that, I think we've made a lot of inroads to the community. So nobody sees this as a negative thing. We haven't had any vandalism. No one's like torn our stickers off or kicked the thing over or anything. Like Harley's is pretty well anchored to the ground. We wanted ours to be a bit more portable, especially with the hurricanes that we get through here, so that if need be, we can take it inside, because we're not the best carpenters in the world, and we don't want to have to rebuild it if we don't have to. So, but we do monitor it for damage. Yes.
I think somebody had asked specifically, Harley, because you had talked about having foods that are easy to just open and eat, and if there were some examples of what kinds of foods y'all put in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So some favorites that I can point out. Anytime we put fruit cups in there, they go so quickly. People really love that because you can just tear it open, like drink it. You don't even need a spoon, like super easy. Also any canned vegetables that have the pop top kind of can where you don't require a can opener to do. Of course, some vegetables, like you might like them better heated up, but you can just eat them right out of the can. And even beans, like that way too. Also something that appears in our cabinets a lot are like individually wrapped snacks. So like, for example, if you buy a party variety box of chips, and then there's just like 10 bags of chips in there that people can kind of pick which one they want. So, like some of the food is more low nutritional value because again, we're a college campus. So the people that are donating may not have the most nutritionally minded approach to donations, but nonetheless, if it's in an individually wrapped package, we're happy to have it. And it's been pretty popular.
We have a pantry, our Humanists up in Concord, which is a county just outside of ours, and it's a red county. Our guys, as well as their guys, always ask for Vienna sausages. They always Vienna sausages, and those things of tuna that come in the pack, because they're always saying protein. We need protein, so we buy Vienna sausages by the case.
Yeah, Austin Humanists at work, we get a lot of requests for, more highly nutritional items, almonds, snack packs. For a while, we were doing those little gummy fruit snacks and found, like one pack is only 80 calories and it's kind of more of a treat. So we lean more toward the meats and the protein, the tuna, the individual single serve tuna, especially if they have the crackers with them. That's really helpful. We did learn though that we had gotten a huge donation of bison jerky from a local organization. And our clients came back and said, this is actually too hard for our teeth. I mean, as you can imagine, not going with dental care for a long time, living out, it's not as easy to kind of chew that off as you might think. So reverted back to more of like a Slim Jim or a Jack Links that's not as hard to chew, that won't get stuck in their teeth in the same way. So we're really mindful of that too. And we have a lot of clients that we serve who have maybe diabetic issues, or so we try not to be really heavy in the sugar and try to deliver nutritionally valuable foods, but at the same time knowing that it's what our donors provide and then what we can afford to scalably distribute. So we try to find that balance as well, focusing on the protein over sugar when we can.
And I just want to add to, just in the past year, talking to folks more, the eat bags that we get are all shelf-stable items inside the bags. And they started putting ravioli in the bags, and week after week, given ravioli. Eventually, I was seeing at the one camp just lines and lines of ravioli everywhere. And I'm like, do you guys not like the ravioli? And they're like, well, it's really acidic and hard on our stomachs. So the sauce inside of the raviolis, like you got to also consider that's just too much acid. Some are also drinking along with their lives. So yeah, we have to also think about the amount of acid inside of some of the foods as well. So.
I really appreciate overall, I mean, all of our panelists have been talking so much about building those relationships and really listening to the communities that you're working with. I think that's such a humanist approach. And just from my own experience of homelessness as a teenager, and I've worked with the homeless population a little bit as an adult, so many of the providers are just so dehumanizing, and it's just so painful. So it's really heartening to hear folks having such a humanist approach and being willing to build these relationships and meet people where they are. I really appreciate that. I'm wondering, Kelly, if you can talk a little bit about advocacy, just because I saw in the chat quite a number of folks talking about how their cities are also experiencing some, I know Austin has a proposition coming up that's re-outlining homelessness. LA's been in the national news, and a bunch of other folks had said locally that they've been dealing with these issues. So do you have some thoughts about how folks can get involved in advocacy in their own communities?
Sure. Yeah, I would recommend reaching out to the National Alliance to End Homelessness. They are a terrific resource for finding information. They have some packs about addressing street homelessness in particular. What we did with our atheist group here, Northern Indiana Atheists, is we reached out to the local nonprofits that are on the ground daily working with the homeless to ask them how we can help rather than taking control of everything our own or reinventing the wheel. We just wanted to be a part of whatever process they had in place, and then use our expertise if we could to help in ways that would be beneficial to them. But certainly we have a big presence on Facebook, so we're able, like if there are signatures needed to get to the mayor's office, we can help pass around those petitions and things of that nature, and we can help rally people to protest, basically whatever they are needing for us. We also try to encourage the groups to work together, because one of the problems that we have here in the North Central Indiana is many of the homeless groups are fairly siloed, and we'll work with anybody as long as they have a non-discrimination policy in place. So we don't pick sides, but many of the organizations themselves sometimes have trouble working together. HUD has put together this concept called Continuums of Care. So ideally, no matter where you are in the country, you should be able to find a local continuum of care. And that is designed to be a place where any nonprofit agency, or really any group, comes together and works on homelessness as a team. So that can be a starting place if you can find out who leads your continuum of care.
This wasn't with Atheists Helping the Homeless, so it was with me, Tina, as an atheist, working with different groups. But I was with a group where we convened all of the grassroots and on the ground groups together to hash out all of the differences that they were having. And as the tent city was being bulldozed over, so there was a lot of panic, where are these people going to go? And the county did step up and provided hotel rooms for the next 3 months for anybody in tent city. However, the hotels are very carceral in nature. You can't cook in them. You can't have friends come over. You have to check in at a certain time. You have to eat at a certain time. You can, so a lot of people opted not to use the hotels, and they instead started a new camp, which is secret.
Let's see, I'm looking real quick to see if I've missed any questions. I don't know if anybody has any last things that we haven't asked about that you would want folks to know. I really, again, just want to reiterate that I love that this theme has emerged from all of our panelists, that we really are listening to folks in the community, because I think that's so important. It's just really problematic when we go in to solve a problem that doesn't exist and actually cause harm to people. So it's really good to see that our our secular community is not guilty of that, at least on this panel. If nobody has anything else to add, I'm going to kick it back to Wendy. And if you can, Wendy, just talk a little bit about Secular Week of Action, let folks know how they can get more information and get involved, and then maybe let people know about our BBN team, because I think there's so much great work happening, and we've got grants available for teams that are doing this kind of work.
Yes. Yeah, so the purpose of this webinar today, or the inspiration for this webinar today, was Secular Week of Action. And so we're really hoping that everyone who's here takes what they've learned from all the panelists and is inspired to organize their own events in their own communities. As of right now, there is 35 days until Secular Week of Action kicks off on April 30th, which is plenty of time to organize an event if you'd like. Again, it starts on the 30th and it goes through May 9th. So there's 2 weekends available to organize events. If you do have an event already organized, or when you get it figured out, we would love for you to register that on the Secular Week of Action website. That's weekofaction.org. You can register your event, and it'll give a small blurb about what you're doing, how people can get in touch with you, how they can contribute. And so we're hoping that that will help folks get the word out, get more volunteers, get more donations to your organization. There's also an area on the website to pledge individual action. So individuals in your community, or yourself, if you're not part of a local secular group, you can pledge your own individual action there. The more events and people we have registered on the website, the more visible the collective impact of the secular community in the United States is going to be. And that will just lead to more and more impact as time goes on. So I also want to, as SWoA mentioned, just do a short plug for the Beyond Belief Network. Some of the folks who are here are members of the Beyond Belief Network. But what it is, it's any organization that is secularly identified doing local service is welcome to join. And we have perks like grants to support the service that folks are doing in their communities. And it creates a network of people doing service in their communities. So if you have any issues, you can see if other people have had the same issues and try to get that situation resolved. And so I want to open my virtual door to anyone who, if you have questions about Secular Week of Action or Beyond Belief Network, please feel free to email me. My email is wendy@foundationbeyondbelief.org. And I want to send everyone else in the world out into the world to make a difference in your communities. I'm so thankful to all the panelists for sharing your time and your expertise tonight. I really appreciated hearing it, and I know everyone else here did as well. So thank you, and have a great weekend.
Thank you all. Thanks, Wendy.